Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to upgrade Debian from Bullseye to Bookworm. Usually my personal preference is to avoid in-place upgrades and instead back up data and move it to a clean install of the release. Well, that is my preference. In-place upgrades are preferred by some, so I'm going to run through the upgrade and then check out applications after finishing the upgrade. The system I'm working with includes a basic Mate desktop, along with a few things I've installed. I'll run through the details before performing the upgrade, but before I get started, a bit of a disclaimer and some warnings up front. I know it may be obvious, but if you're going to try to upgrade a system, definitely be sure to back up your data. Also be sure there's a good amount of free disk space. The exact amount required will vary quite a bit depending on how many packages you've installed. As far as any other preparation, Debian officially provides a couple of guides. There's a short guide that runs through the steps without a lot of explanation or warnings. The other guide is far more detailed, providing some explanation of the steps as well as some cautionary advice. I won't be covering much from the detailed guide here, and instead we'll be running through the upgrade steps. If you do decide to perform an upgrade on an important system, I suggest reading through and following the guidelines that apply to the system you're upgrading. Consider this a high-level demo and not a comprehensive walkthrough. So let's check out the system that's going to be upgraded, and let's start out by grabbing the version of Debian that we're running. All right, so we're on 11.9, so let's also grab our current disk space. So currently our root partition is at 8.2 gigs free. And so I'll check that again after the upgrade. And so moving on to a couple settings that I've changed. First, I've changed some appearance settings here. That's under look and feel and appearance. And I've changed to green submarine for the theme. I also set the background to solid color and selected this beautiful blue. So we'll check these out post upgrade. Normally things that are stored in the home directory, these would be config settings, aren't overwritten, but in some cases with an upgrade, if certain desktop packages are upgraded, it might overwrite something. But we'll check that out and see what happens after the upgrade. I've also installed LibreWolf. And so that was actually installed by using a third-party repository. So later I'll adjust the entry to Bookworm instead of Bullseye, and we'll check that out after upgrade. I also installed gparted from source instead of from the repository. So we'll go ahead and check that out after upgrade and make sure that still works. And then I installed Wine and installed CPU-Z. So we'll make sure that still launches after the upgrade. So there's a quick run through of what I've got set up on the system. Moving on to the upgrade, I'll start by making sure that the currently installed packages are all up to date. As far as upgrading packages, instead of running the normal upgrade command, I'll run dist upgrade to allow the removal of packages if needed. If you want to learn more about app, check out my videos on the topic. All right, so let me get this out of the way here. All right, so that's all set, and now the system is up to date. I'm going to adjust the sources to point at Bookworm. So I'm going to change that for the official repositories. I'm just going to run a couple of vim commands here to change it all at once to make it a little easier. Change lines through 14, 5 through 14 with a substitution. Bullseye. Placed with Bookworm globally. And then one more change I'm going to make, lines 5 through 14. So I'm adding non-free firmware here because that is added by default with Bookworm. All right, so now that we have the official repos taken care of, we're going to save that. I'm going to go ahead and edit the sources for LibreWolf. And I'm just going to point this at Bookworm. Now I need to clean out the package cache from the old sources and update it with the new. We'll run apt clean. And then an update. All right, and at this point, we can see that we have a ton of packages to upgrade. So one thing I will say before we move on is if you just run regular apt upgrade here, you might complain about dependency issues because there's potentially, especially with an upgrade of major versions, some packages that would have to be removed in order to install new dependencies and things like that. So you get some complaints about dependency issues in this situation. And so to get around that, it's better to run the dist upgrade command, which is the equivalent to running apt-get with the full upgrade flag. Also at this point, I'm going to run this command directly from a TTY session as recommended by the upgrade instructions since this is a major update. That way it's running outside of the desktop environment. Anything related to that that could hang or crash is out of the equation. All right, so I'm ready to go ahead and fire off the dist upgrade command. There will be a couple points that pause through the upgrade, and I will stop on those and run through them really quick as we go, but otherwise I'm just going to skip ahead to that. So let's go ahead and fire that off, and then we'll come back when we have something to check out. All right, so there's quite a bit to download since it's a major upgrade. Here the upgrade is paused and we have some info about major changes you can skim through. Typically big changes and deprecated features will be called out here. For desktop or laptop, not too much to worry about. Once you're all set, you can hit Q to exit. There'll be another prompt asking to restart services as needed instead of prompting each time. I'm going to hit yes here to avoid prompts. And so the upgrade finished, I rebooted to the system, and it looks like we're all set with the desktop background and theme. And the file manager launched just fine and seems to be working okay. Let's check out LibreWolf. And that's launching just fine. And check out Gparted. And looks like that's launching okay, so we're good there. And looks like my custom entry for wine programs lost its icon. Not a huge deal. I replaced the default entries created by wine with a custom entry to avoid having to navigate through like 3 layers of folders to get to the executable. So let's test CPU-Z. So as we launch CPU-Z, you might have noticed that wine applies some changes to the files within the prefix since wine itself has been updated. Once that's done, CPU-Z launched fine, so we're all set here. So the last couple things we'll check out here is we'll check out our Debian release real quick. And now we're on 12.6. And also let's check out and see where root's at. So it looks like we're down to 3.7 gigs available. We had 8.2 before we started, but there are still some packages that can be cleaned up. So we could run an apt auto remove, and I'll let that run and we'll come back and see where we're at for space. All right, so all set with that. It's completed its run. Let's check out space now. And looks like we're at 4.7 available. And so the upgrade appears to be working without issues. Of course, if I upgraded one of my permanent machines, I'd probably check out the logs and see if anything new popped up, and I'd definitely have more applications to test. In this case, there's no real risk with upgrading a demo VM versus updating your desktop or laptop. But if you choose to go with an in-place upgrade, it shouldn't be so bad as long as you back up your data and do a little bit of research ahead of time. Definitely read through the relevant parts of the guide before upgrading. Also, it might be worth spinning up a VM and copying over some of your files and testing newer versions of applications. If things do go wrong, desktop and laptop, worst case, You end up doing a clean install and copying your data over from a backup. And so if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and thanks for watching.